All right, welcome to the first episode of Ched's Design Mentorship, where I'm basically going to show all the steps that I use to design anything from I guess, let's just jump into it and you'll see what I mean, because I do all aspects of design. So I had this idea. I'm going to open Adobe Illustrator, and when you open Adobe Illustrator, you have this I know. When you open Adobe Illustrator, you have this interface. From here, you choose one of these, or you could create your own. So usually, I just pick this first one, saying letter, and as you get into Illustrator, this is what it looks like. I'm gonna change the aspect ratio to of the artboard. Sorry, you have to click on this thing in here. Just like 720 by 720. I don't know. It's a nice square-ish aspect ratio to work with. And this is what I'm gonna be trying to make. I saw this this quote on Pinterest today, and it's a quote that says, "The greatest skill one can develop is decreasing the time between idea and execution." And I thought it was pretty cool. So I mean, I like the philosophy behind getting out quick iterations, right? So what I'm gonna do is a illustration, series, a mixture illustration and animation to see if I could come up with something to sort of embody that. So this is the quotes here, and these are just some vector, some some files that I pulled from the internet for inspiration. I'm gonna talk through most of what I'm doing so you get a better understanding of how to use the program. And then I'll go into the other parts of it. So to click and drag an object in Illustrator, you want to use the selection tool, right? So you left click on the thing you want to select, and you'll see this box, and then you left click again on it and hold to drag, move it around. And you'll see a bunch of little stuff popping up. That is some guides that I have on, Snap to guides. I find them useful for when I'm designing icons or anything that I want to be like symmetrical or anything like that. So when in the selector corner, you see the icon, the cursor changes. So you have edge, anchor, edge, anchor. So I wait for the cursor to change to anchor, then I would click and hold shift to scale up and down. And if I hold shift and alt together, it will scale from the center. I can scale big, small. Right? So there's a thing called the finger dance that the designers tend to learn. The Control Shift and Alt in these programs because those are your modifier keys. And we'll get into that some more. So after I have this first image, what I want to do is really make up the light bulb similar to this. So I'm going to go to my layer panel, double click this layer and select template and dim image and click OK. And it's going to lock and dim anything that is a bitmap image. And we'll get into bitmaps and rasters images like down the road. So now I'm going to start drawing. I select the ellipse tool, and with the ellipse tool, you click and drag, and you can get different shape, circles, ellipses, ovals, right? I'm going to hold the shift to constrain proportion, so it's going to stay circular, and I'm going to try to just use this as a guide here and make a circle. Now that I have a white filled circle, because the fill color is white, the stroke is black. I want a kind of fatter stroke, so I'm gonna come up here with such stroke, or alternatively, you can go to your stroke panel over this side and make it bigger. You can open up this and select one to make it way huge, or just play around with stuff until you get something to feel like how you want it to feel. Right? How do I continue drawing and be sure that things are relatively aligned to this? You go to your view, and then there's this thing called rulers, show rulers. So Control R, I'm gonna use this shortcut from now on to turn my rulers on and off. That's these guys here, right? Right now they're in pixels. I would like to just use something simpler like inches. So if I right click on it and change it to inches, I can just see how I design it in inches here. Because it's an easier number for me to deal with. And now I'm gonna select my circle and drag a ruler to the center of that. Put it down, drag one across here, put it down. Nice. So your rulers are these guides that are unclickable until you want to click them. You could unlock them and turn them off, turn them back on. Right? Rulers, hide rulers, guides, right? Unlock guides, clear guides. You can completely delete them. You can unlock them, move them around, blah blah blah. They generally don't show up in your layers panel. Your guides don't show up as selectable things. They're here, but you can't really see what they look like. Right? So let's move on from this. Why I use guides is because I want to draw some round shapes to get the center of now. So it's a round rectangle tool. And so you can use shift to get squares, or you can just draw the rectangle. You click and drag, same way with everything else. If I want to change the roundness of the corner, you use up and down keys. Right, so you can get a regular rectangle, you tap, and you pull it down and just change the roundness of the corners. Alright, so now I have that. And I'm going to select these two by holding shift. So I can click on one and then hold shift and click on the other one, and the two are now selected and they can move as one. Right? The reason I'm selecting the two is because I want to combine them with the Pathfinder tool. And I click this mode here, it's called the Unite mode. And I click on it, it's going to make these two shapes into one. Boom. And now I have this one shape. And if you look in your layers, so I Control Z to undo stuff. If I look in the layers, you see what the Pathfinder does. When I click it, the ellipse and the rectangle layers become one layer, one shape, one vector. Right? Now I'm going to draw another rounded rectangle and I'm going to change the shape of it, the roundness of the corner, just to get like round the base. And I'm going to put this underneath the other one. Now there's a shortcut for that. You're going to learn all your shortcut keys because I use shortcuts primarily. Control and right or left brackets will move a layer up or down. Left bracket down, right bracket up. Control Shift left bracket will send it all the way to the back. Control Shift right bracket will send it all the way to the top. And my future videos are going to turn on the shortcut keys. I haven't figured out how to do that yet, so it'll be easier for you to follow. Right, after that, I'm going to draw these squiggly thingies. And so this guy becomes crucial with that now. So I'm going to use my line segment. There's a tool that lets you draw lines. You just draw and you get lines, drag and pull. I'm going to turn on my round cap in my strokes so that the end of the rectangle, let me show you the difference. If you draw a regular line, you get these where your points end, the line ends. But if I turn the round cap on, when I draw line, what I get is these round ends come over where the point ends. Right? And it's useful for stuff like if I'm drawing something, this, if I want the ends to be round, then I turn this on, round corners. See? It's smooth, it's not pointed. So we get into like how you manipulate lines and stuff like that afterwards. For now, I'm just doing like real super basics so you get just an idea of what's possible in the software. So I want this maybe somewhere around here. Actually want all these lines a bit thicker, like really thick lines when I design and stuff. I'm gonna keep the line width consistent across the entire design. Right, now I'm gonna do a little tricky trick here. So there's I'm done with this template for now. So I'm gonna hide it. Any layers. There is a way to duplicate this evenly without having to drag it and make more. Like I could try to guess where the other one is gonna be, you know, and do stuff like this. But simplest way for me is to use my rotate tool. You click where you want the center to be. So I'm gonna hold shift and click here, and you'll see, difficult to see, but the cursor the source point of the rotation becomes the center of this object, right? Then when I hold shift and I click and I drag, I just click and drag, right? It's gonna rotate around the center of this object. And if I hold shift, shift gives you incremental locks. So 45 degrees, 90 degrees, 135 degrees on the other side, negative 45, 90, negative 135, right? So the finger dance now becomes shift and then alt. You see the cursor changes to, if you look on the bottom of the screen, it says, when I hold shift, it says constrain. And if I hold alt, it says copy. Right? What copy does is if I hold alt and then I release the click, it'll make a copy of this object. And you see it over here, right? So what I just did is I copied this by rotating it. Let's do this way then. Click, drag, holding the copy, which is alt, and shift to constrain, right? And then you release the click alone first. You release the click, you get a copy of the line, right? And then you can just do that again. You have to have the rotation tool selected. Drag, click, drag, shift to get constrained to your 45 degrees. And then you release with shift alt, you release your click first, and you get another copy. There's another trick on top of this, so I'll go back 2 steps and show you. Right, so after the first one, you shift, alt, drag, release. There, if you hit enter, you'll get the transform option. Is this? Or the move option. To enter. Edit object. Transform again. Okay, it's Control D. Right, so this first rotation is considered a transform. Any rotation, scaling, copying, stuff like that, of one object using tools that reflect, scale, share, pre-transform is considered a transform, and that's what they call it. And then they have an option here called transform again, where if I hit Control D, it's gonna do that 45-degree transform on the object one more time. So let's do it. Select the first one, click, Shift Alt, drag, release, and then Control D. All right. it's going to do the 45-degree rotate transform from this again. And if I control D again, it's going to do it again and again and again and again. So that's like super shortcut mode to get these all the way over. There are other ways to do it in Illustrator that are super simple once you learn them, speeds up your workflow. So the other way I would do it is I would do the first transform from here, R, select the middle point, right, D twice, and then select these three, hit O, which is your reflect tool, select it from the center again, and then reflect on that mirror center using Shift and Alt, boom. So there's two ways to get the same effect using transforms, reflect, rotate, and the option called repeat transformation or transform again, which is again Control D, right? And you can do it for other stuff too. For instance, let me show you an example. If I want to make a star, right, or some type of asterisk or whatever, and I just want to rotate this very little, I'll hold Alt with the free transform tool. I'll hold Alt and release, and I'll get a copy of it. Actually, it's not copy it. Okay, let's use the rotate tool, right? Now, if I go here and go transform, and I go transform again, transform again, transform again, transform again, transform again, you can get like cool little stuff, like a weird flower here, right? And then I could maybe object expand, stroke and fill, and then make that into a single shape, right? And I have this little flower, and then I could copy, paste this in the front, make a small thingy of it by scaling it down, and change it to another color or something, right? Very, very simple ways to build shapes using transforms, rotations, just the same tools that I'm showing you guys. And you repeat and do different stuff, right? So making very complex things using like the basic shapes and tools is not as complex as it might seem once you start understanding how the program works. All right, so we have a light bulb. This, I want to add some stuff to this because I don't just want to take the basics of what the template had and then run with it. So I'm going to use this designer here to fake like some little screwy thingies. And light bulb has like the icon, so it doesn't need to be photorealistic. Right, so that kind of symbolizes this green part of the light bulb. And so this is my first symbol that I'm going to animate. I'm going to change colors now, just to have an idea, because I'm going to put this into After Effects and do some other cool stuff with it. Yeah, maybe yellow, maybe yellow is good. Basically bulb, keep blocking it. So I'm using some shortcuts, and I keep forgetting to show you guys. When you have something selected, you could lock it, and that way you can't click on it. So if I just want to click these and drag, I could do that. Right? The shortcut to lock something is Control 2. Control 2 will lock it. Control Alt 2 will unlock it, and it's up in Object Lock Selection, where you currently have selected, or the other layers, which is everything else, I guess. I'm not sure how other layers work. Let's see. All artwork above and other layers. Right, so selection. I think other layers was not selected. Like this one, like the actual layers and not the objects inside of a layer. So as we do more of these, or if you guys want to do more in-depth tutorials and stuff to understand some of the stuff I'm showing like very quickly, very basic, we can do those. I do mentoring and consulting. This is so you guys get an idea on what's possible and how well I know the program, right? So this is a light bulb, which represents the concept of an idea. I kind of feel like I want these to be faster. So hide your guides is control colon semicolon key, and then I'm gonna group these control G. So all the layers in a group, they'll now work with this selection tool. If I select one part, I would select the entire group. If I want to select an individual part, you use a direct selection tool, and that will let you select pieces of a group. And because I want to just center this entire thing, I'm going to select the whole thing and use my alignment bar up here, horizontal align, vertical align. It's going to put it in the center of the artboard. And I just kind of want to bring these out using Shift and Alt to drag select the individual ones one at a time. Once you hold Shift down, it adds, see the little plus sign on the arrow, right? Shift will add or remove if it's already selected, and you select it again, it will deselect it, right? And then I'm gonna put this back on control. So you see the center of the circle moved because I centered the entire object. So I'm gonna have to guides, clear guides, and then add those back by pressing E. E will give you your free transform tool, which will give you your bounding box for this object here. I'm just gonna drag some guides back near to the center. I don't necessarily need to be like a stickler for like exact pixels and stuff at this point. Just trying to select these again to scale them out a bit. I don't like how close they are to the bulb. So to scale them out, I just kind of wanted to move the anchor points from where I'm scaling to the center of this, so that it's scaling from the center out, so that they all evenly scale out. And just kind of increase the thickness of it. So there's another way to go about doing. This is the third way I'm going to show you to go about doing this, right? Because now if I want to change the length of one of these, I'm going to have to manually change the length of it or whatever, right? So I'm going to delete those. I'm going to make this a symbol. In Illustrator, you have these things called symbols. And so I'm going to make this a symbol by just opening the symbol palette, selecting anything I want to be a symbol, dragging it over, or once it's selected, click this plus sign here, new symbol, and it's going to say what kind of symbol you want. It's going to call it light, light line, whatever. And this is going to be a graphic. It is a static symbol, I believe. Registration is going to be center. I think this is based on dynamic and static. I have to go into that in detail at some point. But I'm going to leave it as is for this purpose. It's not that important, right? So then we're going to copy the symbol, and I'll show you why I made it a symbol. So we're going to select this symbol. We're going to use the rotation tool again. We're going to go one, and copy, and copy. And then we're going to use the shortcut for reflection tool is O. You click in the center, and reflect across, and you hold the constraint, which is shift, and alt to copy, and you release. All right, so now that these are symbols, the difference with symbols is that if I want to edit this symbol now, and I change the length of it, if I wanted this way longer, all the symbols change when I change that one, right? If I wanted it back short, if I wanted to shorten it, change the anchor pointers to the center. Right, once I click back out, they all shorten. Right, so now it's a lot easier to change certain things on the symbol. I don't have to worry about selecting them and changing them. I could double click the symbol here. I could increase the thickness of the stroke on the symbol, and once I come back out, they all increase. Right? So with certain things like multiple elements that you know you want to have certain control over, you try to make it into a symbol so that when you want to do iterations or you want to play around with certain stuff, you know, find yourself trying to go into layers and having to fiddle around with selecting all the individuals, especially if it's like a large project and you have like hundreds of these, right? So then you go into stuff like symbol painters, you have like symbol sprayer tool, symbol shifter, scruncher, blah, 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 all of these. So what these are is if I turn on the symbol sprayer tool and I have this symbol selected, I can change multiple symbol instances. So set these, select them. Okay, so if I was to try to spray a bunch of these symbols, this is how it will come out. And it would make it into like a object of these symbols, and then you can use the other tools inside your symbols, like your symbol shifter tool, to like move them around in this blobby kind of way, click and drag. Your symbol scruncher tool will pull them together, right? This is for like building patterns and stuff. So I'll show you again like the little flower that I made earlier, right? I made that by rotating a symbol a couple times, rotating the stroke a couple times. So let's see. Let's make like a flower symbol thing. I'll show you how you can make like really complex artwork with very simple stuff at the end. It's the sequence of clicks that I use wrong. Right, so let's say we want this flower thingy. I'm gonna go object expand, fill stroke, shape mode, unite. Okay. I'm gonna copy this, paste it in front. So edit, copy, edit, paste in front. I'm gonna show you what that looks like in the layer panels. Paste in front, you get the layer that is pasted in the front. If you go paste in back, the layer that is pasted goes behind. Right? Then I'm gonna select the one in front. E will give me my free transform tool. I can hold the N like this. Let's give it smaller. And change colors in the color palette. Make a little orange flower. Make the outside maybe red. Okay. And then just put like a little something in the center there. Bright yellow. Right? I now have this flower thingy. I want I could maybe rotate it a little bit so that is overlapping. Then you get like maybe petals look. And I'm gonna make this into a symbol, right? Click it in, new symbol, flower, dynamic, whatever. Okay. Alright, so I have this little flower symbol now. And now that I have this little flower symbol, I can use my symbol sprayer, select it, and spray a bunch of little flowers. Yeah? And because these are vector based, they don't really get they don't really like bog down your computer in terms of space and stuff like that. Now if I double click the symbol sprayer, you get all these options here where it says the intensity, maybe I want it less intense, 3 at a time, density 3, and then change all of these stuff, right? You could make these spin user defined, the size user defined, and change this. So I use a Wacom tablet. So if I change it to pressure, look at what happens when I do this now. When I start to spray, the harder I press, the more stuff comes out. The lighter I press, the little bit comes out. Then you can start defining certain things. Right, and then the sizer tool. So if I hold sizer is bigger, smaller. If I hold Alt, it makes them smaller, right? And it regularly makes them bigger. So now you can start getting variation with the symbols inside of here. Pretty cool spinner. You can change the directions of the symbol depending on where you want them to face, how you want it to spin. You need to leave it to fix either define average random, right? Random. You change the size of it, and you can get a whole bunch of them to change around. Stainer is how you change the color. So I don't want all of them to be the same color. I want some to be pink and use the stainer tool, and then I change some of the colors of these. I think I have to the way that the symbol is defined, I think determines how the color works. Not sure exactly, but looks better if the document is in RGB. Yeah, some stuff I have to figure out. Screen up to change the transparency of it, and the styler would have to be you have to build a style and graphic style on what to apply. So it's too complex after a while. But yeah, you can see, how you can start using these things to make patterns, and then you do this entire set. You know, this way, be reflected or whatever. You can start seeing like how you could do some pretty like complex stuff with like real simple stuff, right? So back into it, there's so many things you could do real quick with Illustrator. I build things like this to animate. So I build stuff in Illustrator and then I'll export it or redraw it in After Effects. Because I'm more proficient in Illustrator, sometimes it's faster to build in Illustrator and then just translate into After Effects. Some people prefer to draw everything straight in After Effects. It all depends on your output. What you're trying to do. If you need vectors, if you're gonna pass the file to somebody else to animate, they tend to want things to be natively built in After Effects, and it's good. It's a good practice to do that too. If you save your After Effects project and you move the file somewhere, you lose like your assets and you have to relink and stuff like that. So, but for me, because I understand my workflow, I'm going to continue working in Illustrator. I just copy the artboard and then I'm gonna hide this and turn this back on and off the template. So that's this one. Make a third artboard over here. Where I'm going to put the clock. Right, and this clock should actually be going the other way. So I just flip it and rotating it so that it shows that you're cutting time rather than wasting time based on this thingy. Alternatively, if you're drawing certain things and you don't want to see the other parts of it, there's a way you can mask. Select by drawing a square, rectangle over the piece that I want to see. Select the two with Shift. So Shift, click, click, or click drag both of them. And then Object, create clipping mask, make. Right, Control 7 is a shortcut. So I would use Control 7. Select the two, Control 7. And what that does in the layers, it creates a clipping mask, and a clipping mask will just turn off the parts that are outside of the object that you draw. It would make it transparent, basically, see through. So if I drag in the objects, I can hide the places that I don't want to see. It still exists, it's still there in the file because Illustrator they call it non-destructive editing. So I'm not deleting parts of the picture. For now, I'm just hiding it because it's not necessary to delete it. So then draw this to represent the execution of the idea, right? So greatest skill one can develop decreasing the time between idea and execution. This is the execution parts. I'm going to draw some of these things. And so I use pen tool. This will be the first time I'm using the pen tool. I'm going to turn this part on because I want to get the stroke size 20. Right, so I'm going to select the pen tool. Again, hide it, make sure there's 20 strokes. And then make a new layer. So I'm going to draw on the layer, call this execution. So this layer right there. Right, so in the execution layer, double click the template layer again, put it back into our template. So we have the transparency. And I'm going to draw the whole thing execution layer from here, pull a line down here, click, pull a line across here, click, pull a line up here, click, pull a line right here, click, and click. Turn off this yellow by clicking on this none tool here, and then I'm gonna use the direct selection tool to select this point just to line it back up properly. And if you notice, the original has round corners, so we went through that just now. You want to come to your stroke panel, give it a round corner. You don't need the round cap. The cap is for like the end of it. Right, so we have round corners. And then start from here, there, come up here. Right, so we have a page. Once you have your page, you can drag select both of them, fill with white, which is color palette. You could either double click your fill color and select white, or you can just click white down here. The fill color, this is stroke color, stroke fill. Right? So we fill it with white. I'm going to lock I'm going to group them, Control G, and then I'm going to lock in this group page. I'm going to lock it. Maybe hide it too. Now we're going to draw this square. We can just draw an actual square. And then click off to deselect it. And then draw another square. Okay. Right? And we use this tool called the share tool. Drag it across. Share it some more. If you want, and you can just select edges, try to line them up. To be perfect, you can get it as close as possible if you want. And one more square, share tool. Then you can select where you want it to share from, which makes it easier to shift where the angle of it moves to, if that makes any sense. Right, so you have a square now of a box symbolizing like a solid thing that's not an idea. It's now becoming solid execution. So I'm gonna select all of these, group it, and then in this box, right? Cube, whatever you want to call it, and then I'm gonna hide that. And now we have a gear. How would you draw a gear? Well, there's a circle in the middle. And then there's a circle on the outside. But there's also these points. Right, so let's do the points first. We have what they call a star tool. Right, so maybe we draw a star. And with your star tool, you can change the amount of points. So this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points. Yeah. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, 7. I'm right. There's 8. Okay, no, sorry. Yeah. 8 points. So now that we have these points, there's a way you can If you hold Alt, you could change the size of it, and Shift Control, sorry, changes the other thing. We're gonna do some distorting of this to make a gear shape. And so maybe we have this star, we start with this star, and then the easiest selection lasso tool, and it shows you how any tools work. Draw and select stuff. So I'm gonna draw and select these points on the line, minus this, and I want to turn off this. See if I can scale this up where the gear points matching up there, and then unlock this. Then I'm gonna use the selection tool to select outside points, walk around, and try to match them up. Outside of there, yeah, right. How would I ideally make this a gear? Well, I could try using an effect. Dot transform path, stylize. How about round corners? What would round corners do? Yeah, kinda. What if we go back to how this was, right? Go effects, and then we make round corners, and we just round these corners up, right? And when they're rounded, fiber object expand is going to change the effect to actual vectors. And no, this is too long-winded away. I was trying to shortcut. What? And again, the effect that I want. So let's start over. You can just use square, a rectangle, right? Remember we made the flowers just now. So let's use a rectangle. We're going to put a center point by clicking on either side of it, selecting the two, using the transform tool, and using shift and alt, pull them from the center outward. Right? So that's kind of like one of the gears on either side there. All we have to do now, oh, this is the center. Let's use to something. Yeah, so rotate and copy. Rotate and copy. So rotate and copy a bunch of times. Then we want to make the circle that reaches the outside outline, right? Just center all of these together. And then we unite the entire thing. Boom. Oh, this one was the same. Boom. Then we have a gear. 4. Select circle 2 on the inside. We're going to make this one shape. So the gear is currently 2 shapes. We're going to make it. What I mean by that is that if this was on, if this was over a background of some type, right? Say this background was, okay. What you'll have is 2 shapes. You'll have one shape that is the gear. So let's show that it's just a shape. Let's make it gray or color that you can see red. Now you have a gear and then a circle over the gear. This circle is also is one shape. Let's make this yellow. And what we want is a gear with a hole in the middle, right? Not 2 objects. So to do that, you can either make it a clipping mask, which we did before, Control 7. No, that wouldn't work because the clipping mask shows what's in the center of this. There's another way to do it. You make a mask. Where is it? Transparency. Make mask. Right? What this does, how masking works, instead of clip. Masking works in black and white. Was black is see-through, was white is visible. So you can do it like this. So now you have one object with circle mask that's visible, that's see-through. Right? So whatever, it's like a hole that's punched through. Alternatively, if I use this tool, Pathfinder, and I say minus front, then I take the object that's in front, layers, like so. This object is in front, and it's going to create a compound shape, which essentially is the same as a mask. There's a different way that the program operates. It creates a compound shape instead. If I move this around, it's still seeing through. So I prefer this method because it's cleaner. You don't have the transparency mask in it. There are reasons to use the transparency mask if you want gradiated mask. So if you want a mask that's not 100% see-through, you will use your mask. You make mask tool. They make mask any transparency, but this way works great for me, especially because I just want to outline with a white inside. So I'm going to get rid of some of this, turn my layer with the cube back on, and I'm going to use this tool. It's called the eyedropper tool. The eyedropper tool can select things like the thickness of a stroke or the color of a part of it. So when I click on this, it's going to actually choose the thickness of the stroke here and the color. You know, we filled this with white before, so then I get this same thickness of a hair with a white fill. Right, and we already have a gear, so I don't need to create another one. I'm just gonna copy this up here and make it a little bit bigger. To match this. I think the hole in the center is a bit bigger as well. I'm going to drop the stroke so that there is more White. Let's see. Right. And so we built what would look like execution. I'm gonna unlock this layer, template, move the image. Right, so this is bitmap, meaning it's pixels. If I zoom in, you're gonna see it's pixelated, right? And this is vector. Vector will never look pixelated because a vector image is generated procedurally based on code. I'll get into that if we do some more one-on-one stuff. We get into the difference between vector and raster images. Bitmap, raster, same thing. So I'm gonna delete this because I don't need that anymore. I'm gonna show you these are the things we draw so far. These are designs, right? So vectors, vectors, bitmap. Right, and the last one is gonna be this clock. Pretty simple to draw. I actually want these hands to be facing. I'm gonna make two separate hands because I want them to rotate. There's one. I'm gonna lock this so you can see what I'm drawing. To simplify how I'm gonna draw this, I want to see it the way that I'm gonna draw it. So I want the idea of the time going backwards, but I want the arrow to be maybe closer to where the 12 hand is gonna be, but I want the 12 hand to be upright when I'm drawing it. So to do that, I'm gonna duplicate this. I'm going to draw a mask here, and I will create a mask transparency, make mask. This has to be black. Right, so this is one. Oh, let's see, white. This is white is what you see. So these are the hands, and then I'm gonna hide these hands with a white shape. For now, these are all lined up. I can select the hands, rotate those 90 degrees. So now I have an idea of this arrow. The arrow is touching, so maybe the arrow one needs to be a little bigger. I'm doing a lot and I'm not showing you guys what I'm doing. I'm gonna put these on separate layer. Right up. So this is the hands. You can see here. So there's a way in Illustrator if you find these symbols are too small, you're supposed to be able to go to panel options and change it to large. Right? And then you say thumbnail, you really just want to see objects. So if I click OK, I'm going to show you a little bit more of which is which. It says large. It's not very large. You can make it bigger. You can change the groups too. So I could say I want it to be 50 pixels big. Right? And now you get better. You can see a lot more of what's going on. What layer is what when you're selecting different stuff. That's a handy tip that not many people know. Sometimes you're struggling to see what's going on inside of your thing. Or if you want the thumbnails, you want these thumbnails, these groups, so that you can see what's inside of each layer. Right, guides inside this group, you can see the individual knobs. Right, so it's a lot more visual than descriptive. This path that it says here is this white thing that I drew to cover the hands on this file, on this one, because I made a duplicate of this and I masked it out. So this is really same copy of the same image, but is only showing the hands. And I have to go back to this to get all the layers. Right, so that's what these three are. And what I want to do is just make this a little bit bigger so that the hands don't touch. Right? Select the white and the black at the same time. Or maybe I just draw this arrow smaller, right? So we're gonna use this as a template because I want the hands to move and I don't want it to touch the arrow. So group this whole thing. I'm going to align it to the artboard, so I get to the center, and then I'm going to lock the layer. Okay, so this way when I'm drawing this clock, which represents time, what we have is long hand. I use this thickness, short hand. I want these to be separate objects so that when I export to After Effects, they're separate and I can just get them to spin pretty easily. I want this trail, so I'm going to draw a circle like so, and then I'm going to use the cut tool, this scissors on the eraser tool. It's C. I remember C for cut, and I'm just going to click on the path here to cut it, and up here. And what that does is it makes two separate paths. I'm going to delete this one, or keep this one, but cut it right here and here. Right, there's a slight trick again I can show you. Instead of making a bunch of little dots, you can select your stroke and make it a dashed line, and just do 10 or yeah, 100, 10. You want one gap, one dash, one gap. So play with the distance to see how big you need your gap to be, how big you need your dashes to be. So we really want 3 dashes. Maybe the dashes are a little bit longer than the gap. Right, why I would do this? Simply because if I wanted to do something slightly different later on, then I could use the same dash thing that I built here. How would I measure that, right? How would I measure? You actually have a little ruler It's a measure tool. So I can actually just click and pull from here to here, and it says this is. I would measure in inches. Now is a time when I might want it in pixels, but I could also just do it in inches, right? So this is height-wise 0.75 inches. So this dash should be 0.75 inches, right? And then the gap is like 0.65 inches. So it's 0.65 inches. Right. But I want a dash, a gap, a dash, a gap, a dash. So I'm just going to repeat this for this. Places. Right, so that was one. So this makes it is a line dashes to the corners and path ends. This previous dash and gap lengths. Now kind of adjust gap, dash, gap, gap until they kind of get exact. I mean, it doesn't have to be exact. If you're trying to match something exact, you can do it this way. It really doesn't have to be. Also, because I have these end caps on, the end caps tend to go past there unless I put it. No, they usually go past where the point is. So I should have cut this somewhere here, right? And same thing for down here. Because it's not the same thickness either, like I'm gonna change where the arrow ends. This definitely can't be exact, so just fiddling around with it to see how close I get it. That looks close-ish there, right? To make an arrowhead, you can actually select arrowheads from here. Simple ones like this. Or you can make your own. You can just make your own arrowhead because I'm going to up the arrowhead. But this is fine. Make it reverse it if you want. You can tell it to go past the end. You can tell it to change direction. Something like that. You pick an arrow on both sides. So it's actually pretty smaller. Right, well, because I want the edges rounded, I'm just gonna make my own. But it's a good guide. So click pull. Change this to default. Select this. Turn this bar off. Sorry about those sounds. It's just Illustrator making the sounds when I press button. Right. So this way, these hands decide to turn. Sorry. You don't touch. Rotate from the center. You don't touch the arrow. That's what I want. Right. So we have time. We have ideas. We have execution, I'm going to make the template for now. Maybe line these up in the center. Oh, oh. This needs to be one object. Group the crop outside. So you can see outside. This line is your hand. This is your hand. And these three should okay. Alright, I'm going to save this for now. And this is, I'll consider this the first session. So while you're working, you should always save. I have not been doing that. I'm going to save this in what I'm calling Swift Moves series, where I'm going to try to build stuff and just talk about different ways to use these programs and just teach like little stuff that I know in between little handy tips and whatever. So name this. What did the quote say it was? Quote said decreasing the time between idea and execution. So I'm going to name this idea to execution. Okay. Alright, stay tuned for part 2 of this. Oh, I didn't put it in the right place. I put this in JED style. So I'm going to move this back to Swift Moves folder. Make sure your stuff is in the right place. Alright, and next time I'm gonna just pull all these elements into After Effects, make a little animation based on the quote that says the greatest skill one can develop is decreasing the time between idea and execution. And that's kind of why I tend to talk about or prioritize just getting stuff done instead of getting it done perfectly. You don't necessarily need to always get it pixel perfect. These things are gonna move in After Effects anyway, so you're not gonna see all the little nitty gritties of things that might have been slightly off. Don't worry too much about that stuff, right? And let me know what you guys think you want to see some more of. If you like this kind of thing, I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm looking into ways to allow you to like give me donations and stuff to keep producing this kind of content. And as always, I'm gonna leave a way to contact me if you want to do one-on-one mentorships where I show you specifically the thing that you want to get done. It could be an illustration, character design, motion graphics. If you want to do more in-depth Illustrator, if you want to learn Photoshop, like all of these different things. If you want to learn more design basics, like how do I know what colors to pick, how to get to the contrast, like just any range of things that you're trying to understand a little better. If you want to do things like that, I'm gonna leave my contact information so you can get into contact with me. If you have my number already, WhatsApp me, message me wherever, leave a comment. And this has been very fun for me to do because I get to like practice my skills and stuff, as well as like show some more of I see what these programs are capable of and what you can produce, what you can make with something like this. And when you start seeing these things come together in the next session, you will understand like why I think is pretty cool to like teach some of this stuff. All right, so thanks again. See you guys next time.